like that. Hey, on that. Larry out there, 101 Boston Radio. It's always a pleasure on this end, man. We'll let you do your thing. We're going to sit back and listen to your talk show. In there, turned it into a train wreck all at once. I'm getting out of the road. Y'all have a good Sunday. I'm gone. Quickly. All right, Radio 510, banging in here with 10 over. S9, Roger. 549, 1156. Hello. All right, 510, take care. 73105 Radio.
Hi, my name is Shane, aka Gemini, from Gemini Garage, or also known as 972 Gemini, or Gemini on the CB radio. And a couple years ago when I got back into radio, I knew I was going to want some kind of a setup for the car, but I didn't want a really large, mag mount that was going to maybe scratch the paint, and I also wanted something that was maybe going to be portable that I could take with me, put on a rental car, put on a friend's car. So I really wanted to try and find something that was, small but yet portable, but that would work really well. And the more I started researching, the more I started seeing antennas, some of them that I'd seen for years and years, but then others that I'd never seen before. And then others had the same part numbers, but they looked different from the other ones that had the same number. So there was a little bit of confusion in what was going on there. So I thought maybe I'd get a few of them and test them. And the more I got, the more different ones started popping up. And then there were no reviews. There was really not much online about a lot of these antennas, and almost nothing recent on most of them. So I just kind of kept buying them and kept researching them, and then the next thing you know, just kind of went down a rabbit hole. How big of a rabbit hole? How about 15 antennas? That's right. Shaky camera syndrome here. This is what we're going for here. We've got 14 mag mounts plus a through glass CB antenna right there. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to test all these and we're going to see what's good and what's not. I don't really know that anybody's ever done a comparison test like this before. So I'm kind of hoping that we can make some ground, make some history, and have some good reference information for people that are shopping for antennas or trying to compare antennas in the future. So with that, all right, that is what 15 magnet mount antennas looks like, sitting on my workbench there. So this is not going to be an easy video to make real short, because I mean, there's 15 antennas here. I got two more that I'm kind of gonna they're kind of going to be mystery antennas. I'll show what they are afterwards, but I'm going to throw them. They're kind of outside of the realm of what I'm testing here, but I just want to throw them into the mix just to see. But anyways, I'm going to introduce all these antennas, and then I'm going to take them out of the package, set the SWR, and we'll talk about them a little bit more, and we'll start testing them. Up first right here, we got the Procom right here, this little guy right here. That's a Procom JBC112-8, and that's an 8-inch, basically a rubber duck, but this one has a tuning ring on it, so that's really cool. We've got this cell phone-like through glass mount one here. I just kind of got that to throw into the mix since it was a small antenna, and why not, right? There's the Fagur, or I shouldn't even have attempted to say it that time, antenna there. We have the Skoshi or Soshi, don't know how you want to say that. This is basically like the old Radio Shack sold them, Midland sold them. A whole bunch of companies put their names on this particular style of antenna, which you'll see once I get it together. This is a short little Cobra one here. That one's kind of a cool looking antenna for not a very big one. Here's basically kind of a clone of that one there. That's the car antenna 1187, so that tells you a lot. And by the way, that's the HGA 1000 there. And okay, and then on to the President here. We got the New Virginia here. And that's more of a cell phone, kind of a modernish looking antenna too. But it's, I think, probably a little bit better than that one there. But anyways, we'll see. That's a 2-foot shark right there. Basically a whip with a bottom load and then a tuning ring. We've got a tram right there. That's by the way, that shark is a 2-foot quick tune mag mount. And then we've got a tram model 300 and a Hustler 1C100S. These right here are basically kind of, I guess, in the same category. They're about 3-footers. Would be the competition for the Little Will and the K40 here. Not much introduction needs with these two. They've been around forever. And then we've got another Cobra here, a bigger one. And then we've got a Road Pro here. And then on the large end, to kind of compare everything to, we've got a Wilson 500. So don't want to go up to the 1000, 5000 or the big mag mounts yet. Probably another test. We're going to want to do this from the smaller antennas all the way up to kind of the medium to mid-range. So with that, I'm going to get to getting these out of the package and putting them together and go from there. Hi, Shane, Gemini Garage. And as you can see, I'm back. Got all these out of the package. Got all of them assembled. I also am the owner of the world's crappiest Allen wrench collection, because all of these things came with a really bad little tiny Allen wrench, and the set screws were nothing to write home about either, so that was enjoyable. So we got all the SWR checked. I try and put a little video in there. I did all of them on an Expedition that I had parked in my driveway. And then after I did all of them on the Expedition, I did all of them again on the Mustang. And I did that because I kind of wanted to see what the difference would be from one vehicle to another, kind of how sensitive they would be, and just wanted to kind of double check and make sure that, everything was, working out like it was supposed to. In doing that, you'll notice there are 3 extra antennas up here that were not up here before. There is an extra 1187, there is an extra Cobra HGA 1000, and there is an extra, however you pronounce that, Figura brown box one. And the reason is, all 3 of those antennas had a little higher SWR than what I thought they should have had. So I just decided to buy an extra antenna to take the variable out of having a defective antenna. So I will get to, I will have a private little special conversation about these 3 particular antennas later, because there's a little bit of a story behind all these here. So with that, I'm going to start off with the little Procom here. This guy gave me a 1.8 SWR. By the way, I tuned all of them for pretty much channel 20. And the ones on the end, I trimmed a couple of them. The Wilson 500, about an inch off of it. They tell you in the instructions you need to trim them. But I didn't go crazy trimming them to get them perfect, because you may want to use them on sideband, or you may want to use it on another band, being that it's not, being I'm testing it and it's not going on a specific vehicle. If I was putting it on a specific vehicle, I might trim it and tune it in a little bit better, but I got it, I think close enough for the test. So again, back here at the Procom, we got a 1.8 SWR on that guy. The through glass one, I didn't check the SWR on that one yet. I was pretty much just taking these mag mounts off and on and off and on. I wasn't really in the let's stick stuff to glass mode, so I'll check the SWR on this one when I go to do the test. I'll just do this one all at one time. Alright, the Figure brown box one, the first one I tested gave me a 3.1, and I couldn't get it any lower than that, which is why I bought another antenna. The other one I got came in different packaging. This one came in Intech Mag 1345 packaging, and it gave me a 2.2 SWR. And I believe the reason it gave me a lower SWR is because it has a longer length of coax than this one. Same antenna, but different packaging and different lengths of coax. This antenna is also known as the Sirio Omega 27. So this thing has, at least that I know of, 3 different names and 3 different, packaging incarnations. So, and 2 different coax links. I don't even know about the third. I mean, the stereo, I don't know what the coax length on that one is. So who knows? Getting to the Cobra. The first one I tried gave me a 1.3. But before that, there was a problem with the whip. There was something on the bottom and it wasn't making good contact. And once I cleaned that, it started working good. But by that time, I'd already ordered another one. So the first one gave me a 1.3 ultimately. The second one, a 1.5. And you're looking at it going, that one's shorter. Yeah, it is shorter. And it isn't because the whip is slid down in there further either. It's because somebody trimmed it. Somebody bought it, somebody trimmed it, and then they put it back in the package and sent it back. And then, lucky me, I ended up getting it. Nevertheless, it still has a 1.5 SWR, even though it's probably, an inch too short. But what are you going to do, right? So that was the story. I mean, what are the odds, right? It's like, this thing's making bad contact. So I buy another antenna, I get this one fixed, and then the one that I get ends up being chopped. I mean, Now we're going on to car antenna 1187. This is another little story here. This one, the first one, tested 11.1 SWR. 11.1. I'm using an antenna tuner on this. Same one I used on all of these. Nowhere could I go with that tuner would this thing be happy. Even way outside the CV band, it just would not tune to anything you'd want to hook up to any radio. So that was that one. So I got the second one, 10.1 SWR. So I don't know what's going on with these 2 antennas here. Maybe by the end of the test I'll figure out why it's so high, but it is what it is for now. Moving along, the President New Virginia gave me a 2.1 SWR. You can adjust the whip on that. I adjusted it a little bit, and just between the 2 vehicles, that was the SWR that was the best compromise, but I'm pretty sure if you were tuning it on your own personal vehicle and you really took some time, you could get a little bit lower. The Soshi or Skoshi antenna here, it gave me a 2.0 SWR. And by the way, in my further researching and looking at all these antennas, the modern part number for that, or packaging for that, is Road Pro or RP711. That'll get you a new one of these in a newer modern package. Otherwise, just look up vintage antennas on eBay, or look up antennas in general, CB antennas in general on eBay, and you'll see a whole bunch of these from various decades and various packaging. Matter of fact, this is one that I've had since about 1994. I bought that in Radio Shack when I bought a CB in Radio Shack in about 94 or so. You can see it's identical to that one. And you can tell because they all have this thin whip, they have this black center load, they have this mast here, and then this spring and the mag mount. They're not very fancy, and they don't have stellar performance, but they do work. And I think they're pretty much all made out of metal, and I think that's kind of why they last like they do. Moving along over here, we've got the Shark antenna here. That gave me a 1.8 SWR. The Tram gave me a 1.2 SWR. The Hustler gave me a 1.2. The Little Wheel gave me a 1.3. The K30 by K40 gave me a 1.3. And again, these two, they recommend you trim them and this and that, so you could, trim these better, I'm sure. The Road Pro here gave me a 1.8. The Cobra HGA 1500 gave me a 1.4. And the Wilson 500 gave me a 1.2. And by the way, that was all using an MFJ antenna analyzer, 259B. Some people like these, some people don't. This one's always worked really well for me. I've never had any problems with it. I also have a SARC laying around someplace that I check it with once in a while if a reading seems a little weird. And then there's always, an SWR meter too. So Real quick, I'm going to go down the power ratings, if there are any, and the websites. You can go to wilsonantenna.com, I believe it is, and they give you a short description of the antenna and then basically a link to Amazon to buy it. So that's about all that's going on there. The 500 here, rated at 2,000 watts PEP. The Cobra, I believe CobraElectronics.com is their website, and they sell radios and antennas and microphones. The HGA 1500 here is rated at 300 watts. The Road Pro here, no wattage rating. You go to, I believe, roadpro.com or Road Pro products, and it's basically a distributorship. It's like a name, and they, put it on a lot of different automotive products, so that's pretty much what's going on there. But they do have a listing of their antennas there. K40, they make other things other than antennas, so they do have a website and they do have descriptions of their antennas. And that one's rated at, the K30 is rated at 300 watts. Again, we got another Wilson here, and that one's rated at 300 watts, the little Will. Hustler. You want to type in Hustler antennas, or you want to type in, I believe it's newelectronics.com or something like that. You don't want to just type in Hustler, because if you just type in Hustler, you're probably going to get something other than an antenna result, and I really don't want to be responsible for that. So make sure you put in something that has something to do with an antenna after you type in Hustler. And while it's not listed on the package, I believe that one's good for 300 watts. Tram. Type in Tram Browning. It will also take you to some type of a parent website, but they've got their own section of Tram Browning. At Tram Browning, they've got all kinds of mounts, just about every kind of antenna mount you would need to put it on a vehicle of any kind, really. And that one's rated at 300 watts. Shark Antennas, same thing. There is some type of a parent website, but just type in Shark Antennas and it'll take you there. No wattage rating on that one. The Soshi one here, we already kind of went through where to find that and what it is. It's the current package is the RP711, or just look up vintage antennas on eBay. No power rating on that one. President, of course, has their own website, presidentelectronics.com, I believe it is, and they sell their radios, microphones, antennas, etc. on there. And that one is rated at 120 watts PEP. It does have some very thin spaghetti-sized coax, though. I'm not saying that's a problem, because it's 100 watts is not that much, but just a note that it's got very thin coax. But President makes pretty good stuff, so I have faith. Car antenna 1187, why bother? But if you're going to type that in, you just type in car antenna 1187, you'll probably get a link to eBay to buy it. It's also, I've seen it listed as the HG1000, which the Cobra is the HGA1000, so yeah. And no wattage rating on that. No way to adjust the whip in there either. The Cobra, again another Cobra, so you'd go to CobraElectronics.com. These guys are rated at 100 watts. These things here, Stereo Omega is probably the most common name for this antenna if you're going to look it up and find it. But like I said, this is the Intec Mag 1345. This is the iFigure, and the other one it's known as is the Stereo Omega 27. And I don't believe there's a power rating on any of these, but given the construction is pretty much the same as the Cobra here, I'm going to guess around 100 watts. And I'll get to that in a minute when I talk about these antennas again. The Sound Effects Rally Through Glass Antenna. This packaging has a date of 2003 on the back of it, so this is way new, old stock. And so you can still get these antennas in this package. I believe Procom and a couple of others they put them in their packages now, and they've also got some longer versions. So there's some different incarnations of these. If you want to know more about these, you really are just going to have to type in through glass CB antenna, and that should give you some options. And again, no power rating on this. You could just assume, you'd want to be stock 4 watts with something like that, pretty close to it. Procom, they have their own website with specs on all their antennas, and there was no power rating on that one. Now, real quick, if I could just have a little conversation about these guys here. And the reason I want to have another conversation about these is because they're kind of a popular antenna. Don't forget, the whole point of this test was, to test a range of antennas, but to also test, the smaller ones, because, you might be going on a road trip or something and want to take an antenna with you, or maybe you've got a car that you don't want to even remotely try to put some big, huge mag mount on. These are all right in that size category. And, so when you type in one, you kind of get results for the other. And that's, as a matter of fact, just looking at them, you could see how online it was like, okay, is this one the same as that one? Because if you look at them, like, now this one's the Cobra, and this one's the brown box. Look at the base. The bases are identical. And if you look at the whips are really identical too. It's the same piece of metal, same type of metal, same color. It's got the same. It's just this one, somebody put a few more turns in here and it's shorter. And this one, somebody took a few turns out and stretched it out a little bit. Other than that, I think they're the same antenna. So I don't know who ripped who off. So you've got the Cobra here, right? And it's just doing its thing. And then you've got this antenna over here that's got 3 different aliases, right? And you've got this, rat bastard car antenna 1187 over here that's trying to impersonate the two of them. I don't know. It's an interesting situation with these 3 antennas. And like I said, it's kind of an important conversation to have because they are really popular. The Stereo Omega, Stereo's it's a brand name that people buy, so you want to know what you're getting with that. And Cobra, you want to know what you're getting with that one too. So I should also note that under fiddling around with these things, and yeah, I probably will eventually take this whip out and try it in that base and back and forth, but I've got enough going on right now. I don't want to do that because I don't want to mix anything up. But it is interesting to note that under all circumstances, these antennas with the tighter coils have a higher SWR than these Cobras with less coils. And that kind of makes sense, because especially being a shorter antenna, you'd want to have more of it just going out of, radiating out than going around in a coil, I would think. So I guess the point is if you're looking for one of these antennas in this size, if you can find a Cobra that hasn't been trimmed and returned, it's probably your safest bet. As far as knowing what you're getting, like I said, there's really not anything wrong with these antennas, but you got 2 different lengths of coax with this. You got 3 different names here, so if you can find, which one you want. They are a little bit shorter, so if, height was absolutely a maximum, concern, and you just really needed something a couple inches shorter, like I said, you may be giving up a little bit with these extra coils in there on the SWR. But at any rate, by the way, my battery just died, so I had to take care of that. So you're not seeing things. While I was doing that, though, I did double check. And I'm gonna see if this is in frame halfway decent here. Excuse me. So I did check, and what I found was you really got to be careful. Because there's the actual Cobra antenna there. But if you scroll up, and again, it's HGA1000, but if you scroll up, oh, what do we got there? Yeah, that's a car antenna 1187, and they're saying it's an HGA1000, but you can clearly see, and that one's got like kind of a chrome nickel-plated mass on it too, so you can always tell it by that as well. And there's another one. There's actually, when you type in that number, there's actually more of those that pop up than the Cobra. So again, buyer beware. Pay attention when you are purchasing any of these antennas, because they are a lot of them and they do pop up in the search because they are a popular size. And again, it's an important conversation to have, because I can guarantee you right now some poor bastard is trying to tune in his car antenna 1187, and he's probably talking to a message board and they're telling him he's an idiot, and he's like, no, I can't get it to tune, and they're like, you're doing something wrong, and who knows. So once again, that's why I wanted to do this test, is to kind of go through what was what. And after I saw those 3 antennas there, I really felt the need to kind of sort through all these. So
You got conditions. Conditions are not, but we tried. Again, 105 Radio Kentucky. Out there to see what happens.
Well, here we go, talking Skinamax again, Mongoose.
Let it rip.
It's been rated G since me and you ain't been out here.